Hello, welcome to 6.1 to 6.3 Solving Inequalities. So, before you start this lesson, you should have done your warm-up and your vocabulary. Our SWABAT is solve, graph, and write linear inequalities. So in this video, we're going to do all three of those. And if not, we will do part 2 in just a little bit. So check your answers for the warm-up with mine. Make sure you got x equals negative 17 for number 1. Number 2, y equals negative 3. And number 3, the product of 8 and x, so product means multiply, so that gives me the 8x, is greater than 50. So the is lets me know that I need an inequality. Greater than points to the right, 50. Number 4, you must be at least 15 years old to go on the field trip. So x has to be greater than or equal to 15, because you can also be equal to 15 years old and still go on the field trip. So check your answers really quickly with that. And then if you could take a moment, and if you didn't write down all of that information, here's a shortcut for you for the vocabulary. Write down all of this information that you have here. Number 1, I'll be checking to see if you wrote always write the variable on the left. Number 2, open circle, shade to the left if it's pointing to the left, so less than, shade to the left. Less than or equal to, we'll have a closed circle and shade to the left, and then the opposites for greater than and greater than or equal to. So basically, we're going to shade in the direction that the arrow tells us to shade. So if it points to the left, I'm going to shade to the left. If it points to the right, I'm going to shade to the right. And the reason why this will always work for us is because we're always going to write the variable on the left-hand side. Also, if it's not equal to, that means you'll have an open circle. But if it is equal to a certain value, you'll have a closed circle. So do me a favor, press pause and make sure that your very first slide looks exactly like mine. If it doesn't, don't expect the stamp, please. Okay, so number 1. Write an inequality that describes the graph shown. So here's my variable that tells me that it's x. So I'm going to go ahead and start with my x there. It is shaded to the right, so I know my arrow is going to go to the right. And because it's not closed, it's an open circle, I'm not going to write an equal to sign there. So the next question is, what's this value? So it's a little bit light on yours, but it's 1, 2, looks like this is at 3. So x is greater than 3 for number 1. Go ahead if you want, press pause if you want to try number 2 on your own. The variable though is x. It's shaded to the left, so my arrow would go to the left. This one is a closed circle, so that means it's including that value. So it's less than or equal to, looks like, negative 1. That's it for those. All you had to do is write the equation for that. Next, we're going to solve now. This is a good review from chapter 3. I think 3.1 to 3.2. So before we graph these, our solutions, we're going to solve. So I'm going to subtract 5 just to isolate the variable. And I'll tell you, for the most part, your rules for solving are the same as what you've done before. So my solution is f is greater than or equal to 4. So I just pick a point that's somewhere in the middle, and I call that one 4, because that's my value that I'm looking for. And then because this is equal to, I'm going to go ahead and make this closed, a closed circle. And because it's pointing to the right, I'm going to shade to the right. Now, this is a great lesson for if you have a highlighter, you can go ahead and highlight your answers instead. The main reason why I'm a fan of highlighters is because then I can tell where you shaded and it won't take you quite so long. So that kind of works as well. If you're looking at the next problem, solve it. So I'm going to go ahead, add 2 and add 2. And if at any point you get a little bit tired of hearing my voice, press pause and then you can fast forward to just check to make sure you got the right answer. So I'm looking at p is greater than 25, which is wonderful, but that's a really huge number. So again, just pick a point that's kind of in the middle, 25. This will have a an open circle because it's not equal to. So there's my open circle. And then my arrow is pointing to the right, so I am going to shade to the right. Just like that. So they give me a note here, which means I'm probably going to need to use it for this next example. The note is, whenever you multiply or divide by a negative number, you must reverse your inequality symbol. So let's look at what that looks like. I'm looking at number 5, and in order to get the m by itself, I need to get rid of this negative 3. So I ask myself, what's the negative 3? Well, it's dividing. So the opposite of dividing by negative 3 is to multiply by negative 3 on both sides. So I get m is, check the note, no longer less than or equal to, you have to switch it, greater than or equal to negative 6. That's the main thing there. You just have to remember to switch your arrow whenever you multiply or divide by a negative number. So here I am at about negative 6. I'm going to have a closed circle. And because my arrow goes to the right, oops, just kidding, I am going to shade to the right. There you go. So number 6, looking at that one as well, I see that we have 6k is greater than negative 14. So I'm going to go ahead and divide by 6 and divide by 6. And the 6's cancel out, and k is. For this one, you're not going to switch your arrow. And you're not going to switch your arrow because even though this is negative, no one cares. You did not divide or multiply by a negative number. So my answer, my arrow will stay the same. This is a negative number, and I'm going to reduce this because it's a fraction. And so I have 7 over 3. So now I'm looking at that 7 over 3 and I'm thinking that looks gnarly. I don't know where that is on a number line. So I'm going to change it to a mixed number. 3 goes into 7 2 whole times with 1 left over. And then I just put that over 3. So that's one answer, or part of it anyways. So I think about negative 2 and 1/3. If I have a fraction or a decimal, I'm going to try to figure out where that's going to be. So let's make this negative 2. This could be negative 1. This could be negative 3. So negative 2 and 1/3, this is 0. It's going to be 1, 2, and a third. And it's going to be an open circle. And this is approximate. I don't expect you to have a magnifying glass and to tell me exactly where 1/3 is. It'd be awesome if you could, but I probably wouldn't know because I can't see that finely. So there you go. Arrows to the right, so I shade it to the right for that one. Having fun yet? I hope so, because I kind of am. Now is where all the action, all the magic happens. Some word problems. So Tom, we're talking about our friend Tom. Tom has scored 181 points so far this basketball season. Could have been anyone though. It doesn't have to be Tom. We know girls can do it just as well. He needs to score 207 points to tie the school record for the most points scored in a season. So far I'm thinking about Tom, and he has 180 points so far, and he needs 207 points to tie the record. Okay, let x, this is important because you're telling me my variable, x represents the number of points Tom needs. I'm sorry, he has 181. In order to tie or beat the record. Write an inequality for x. What is the least amount of points Tom has to score? So we're going to set this up and we're going to solve it also. So Tom has a certain amount of points. Interesting. So I can't write. Let's pause. Sorry about that. So Tom has some points already. So we have Tom's points, and then he's going to also need some more points. I'm going to add more points. And then we want to be able to beat, it says, or tie his record. So if he ties it, it's going to be equal to the record. But he could do better than that and have some more points than the record. The only thing is, it can't be less than or equal to, because if he has less points than what the record is, no one cares so much about Tom. It only is if he has greater than or equal to, so more than the record or equal to it, and then his name goes into the record books. So Tom's points is something that we already know. We know that Tom has 181 points. Plus, how many more points does he need? Well, x represents the number of points Tom needs. So I'm going to put plus x has to be greater than or equal to the record. And for us, or for him, the record is 207 points. 207. So that's step 1 that they wanted me to do. So I'm going to put a box around that because that's one of my answers. The other question is, how many points, at least how many points does he need? So let's now solve this inequality. So 1 81 plus x, that's the more points, greater than or equal to 207. So I'm going to subtract 181, subtract 181. X, the number of points, is greater than or equal to subtracting 26. So what is the least amount of points Tom has to score? Tom has to score at least, that's an L, 26 points. 26 more points, I should say. Okay, in 1982, this is old school, Wayne Gretzky set a new record for the greatest number of goals in one season. This is before the Sharks even existed, with 92 goals. That's wonderful for Wayne. He played for the LA Kings back then. Suppose that a hockey player has 59 goals so far this season. So 59 goals so far this season. What are the possible number of additional goals? So additional, that's a good hint, the player can make in order to make or break Gretzky's records. So the make or break kind of goes back to what we just did for Tom. It means it's going to be greater than or equal to Wayne Gretzky's record, which was 92 goals. So this particular player, instead of the 181 that Tom had, he or she has 59 goals, and he'd have to add about X of them in order to do this. So what are the possible numbers? Well, if you subtract 59 and subtract 59 from both sides, x is greater than or equal to, watch my math, 33. So this time the player needs at least 33 points. So check your sentence, make sure you wrote yours as well. And now for number 9, you have $90 to buy CDs for your friend's party. It's wonderful that you're going to be the DJ for her or him. What are the possible number of CDs that you can buy? So they tell you that the CDs cost $18 each, and so X for us is going to equal the number of CDs. And so then you have $90 to buy. So let's think about this. If the CDs cost $18, it's going to be $18 times however many you buy. So there's $18 for each one, and I'm going to buy X of them. So that's 18X. And then that has to be less than or equal to $90, because otherwise you're going to get to that register and feel a little bit burnt because you won't have enough money. From here, if you would please divide by 18 on both sides, and you're going to get X is less than or equal to, how many times does 18 go into 90? Let's use my little handy dandy calculator there. 5 times. So what are the possible numbers? I could buy 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 CDs. I could buy at most 5 CDs. That would be a good one. So at most 5 CDs can be purchased. Okay, so each film that we do here only has 15 minutes, and since I'm getting a little bit close to that mark, I'm going to go ahead and pause now and have you finish watching our videos on the second film. See you in a bit.